Now seems about as good a time as any.
Yeah. Let me
Yeah.
know so I'll face the camera when you press
Well,
record.
face the camera whenever you like. I'm quite happy talking to the back of your head.
That's how most of my girlfriends tell me.
Right, okay. That made it on the stream. Yeah.
I swear it's one at a time. Anyway.
Right, so I suppose I better say what this is. Welcome to the first ever, and depending how this goes, quite possibly the last ever episode of LOONCAST. I am joined for this first episode by Howard, and
Hello.
I'm going to let him introduce himself. So away you go.
The pressure is on me. By the way, when you said this could be the first or the last, I like the insinuation that that could potentially be my fault. Um,
All mine.
um, let's see. No, yeah, I have a YouTube channel called Baka Broadcast, which some of you might know if you've seemingly clicked on this, and as a result, I talk about Japanese music. Not as a result, I've already fluffing up my words. I'm only 5 seconds in. So I do a channel about Japanese music, and I think the main reason why I've kept doing it for so long is because it's become a real strong community thing. But I've always loved working with Japanese music outside of YouTube. But YouTube was just a great way to bring it together, speak to fans all over the world who are into so many different bands, and obviously finding out how many different types of music are coming out of Japan, how many people are enjoying those different types of music, and really kind of getting a whole culture of people together, because it's just such a fantastic tapestry of different sounds and styles of music that we have here. But yeah, there's a lot of things evolving, and obviously we've got our own artist who we'll be talking about a little bit later
Yep.
here, who we've been supporting, and yeah, just a bunch of things going on. So there you go. That's my intro. I am Guy, who has a YouTube channel, Baka Broadcast. Check it out after you've watched this live stream, assuming that everything doesn't go totally wrong.
It's quite possible it will. The link will be in the description for your Discord and for your YouTube.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Discord's great. Discord's great.
Yeah.
So if you go on the YouTube, you can hear my opinions. On the Discord, you can hear the opinions of people who, think. Anyway.
So yeah, well, we may as well just get straight into your pet project. How did you think it?
Yeah.
The title of the episode is Howard's Big DaDaDaDay.
I like it.
How do you think it went?
So, just to give a quick recap for anyone who doesn't know, so yeah, basically, because I used to work with, I've worked with a lot of artists, but a lot of the time up and coming artists were the main thing I worked with over the years. And I always wanted to find a pet project where I work with Japanese artists and help them. And just through various going to live houses, I just found this group. It was like a girl group doing rock. That's not an entirely unique thing in Japan, but still, it was just really interesting. Just they captured the room. They were so engaging as people, their music and everything. So I decided to turn it into a pet project, and eventually it led to me finally. I kept the name of the band and everything hidden. I finally unveiled it the other day, so we could hopefully impress the record company with how much the stats on all of their online stuff suddenly shot up when I unveiled them to the world via my channel. And I think it went really well. I was
They
rushing
noticed a
to do
difference in their views and.
Well, I have been tracking their social media myself. I get the feeling that they're very good at doing like local venues, and they do turn a profit, and their record company and management do turn a profit. However, they clearly have not engaged with the online world very much, and it's not something they really understand, and they've never really had to understand it. So I don't even know if they really know how to track the figures. So I've been keeping look at their figures for them, and I will present it to them just in case. But yeah, I've seen like massive steps up on their subscribers. They've sold merch online, which was fantastic. I've been working out how to do overseas merch, which was really great, talking to them about that. But the main thing is that I just think it's they've only got a couple of songs professionally recorded, but I've heard the other songs, they've done them live. And every time I listen to them, I'm just thinking this is a group who, it's like, I really know this is good. It's like, I know this is good. I'm not just telling myself this is good. I know this is good. Mm-hmm. And I wanted that's kind of one of the things I was most worried about when we had the whole DaDaDaDay thing. Is I really wanted to like put that out and go, okay, are people just going to say, oh, yeah, it's just another pop group, or are they actually going to go, no, that actually is good? And much to my surprise, yeah, most people have been really engaging with it. So yeah, I'm really happy about
that. They are really, really good. I've bought the album. I've bought the 2 singles as well.
Thank you so much.
I was going to buy the T-shirt, but they don't make them in my size. Handsome size is what I call
it. I can't buy anything at all in my size here. So it's like, by the way, I'm just going to have to, like, all I can hear on my computer. I don't know if you guys at home can hear this. I can see it. It's because fucking Discord. Like, no one sends me a message, and in a minute I'm on this. It's like 10,000 messages. So I'm going to, see, I went to press quit Discord, and a notification came up blocking me because it was a message. Quit Discord. Go away. All right, good. Like, literally, you know, have you ever had that when you go to click on something and a notification comes up right in front of you just as you're about to click, and you end up clicking on the notification instead? It's like that. It's like, I'm going to get rid of Discord. Bam! You've opened a message. No! So, yeah, there we go. But, yeah, I was really just, like, I was really glad to see that everyone seemed to genuinely enjoy the music. You know, between the 2 singles, people had preferences. Yeah, it was great. And, of course, I'm still rocking them. I've got the band Dadadams. I've got their logo up here. Got a picture of the lasses here, although due to the lighting, it's a bit hard to see them. I've got the T-shirt on. Yeah, really.
You're such a simp.
Hey, I work with them. I'm not a simp. I'm a hanger-on. I'll have you know. I'm one level up from a simp. I hang on. I hang around. They allow me within 20 feet of the artist.
Yeah, not for long.
Oh, as long as I'm profitable.
So you made a nice long video to launch them?
Yeah, so we did the...
It was good.
Sorry. Yeah, that's a dangerous thing to say to me. I think we're already establishing that I talk too much. Yeah, the video that I did was supposed to be an intro, and like I say, the problem that I came across was it ended up being more than I had time to produce, and all kinds of things came up. There was someone who's supposed to help me with the subtitles, and they didn't send the subtitles back, and so I was editing that last minute. So I actually wanted it to be much better than it really was, and so I had to cut it down, make it a bit shorter, but I still managed to get the intro in there. I still managed to get like the music videos that I wanted to put in there, but there was so much that I had to cut out and I didn't have a chance to properly do, that I've sort of compiled it all together, and I'm currently working on part 2, which is going to come out this Sunday. It might already be in the past by the time you guys watch this, by the way.
I think this will probably go up tomorrow.
Okay, so if that's the case, it's Sunday the 6th. Part 2 of DaDaDaDay is going to be, and it's going to have some really funny questions that the girls are answering for us as well. Some in-depth stuff as well. So that'll be the part 2. And hopefully we're going to get another live video of the girls doing their cover of Tokyo Washoi out as well. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, hopefully getting that premiered. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we're still doing. So all of the things I didn't manage to do last Sunday, I've basically just sort of repackaged it and said, yeah, that was just me preparing for the sequel.
So will the Tokyo Washoi video be part of the second part, or will that be a separate thing on its own?
Well, so the issue we've had is the songs they've recorded thus far were recorded prior to 2 members of the band joining. So there's 2 studio recordings, the 2 singles. We love them, we're very proud of them, but they are, you know, they missed 2 members of the band. So when I did the music videos for both of those, which are just music videos cut from live footage kind of videos, I did speak to the record company, and we were kind of umming and ahhing about what do we do with this, because this isn't really fair on the 2 new members of the group if we release this as like a new thing, because they've now been in the group for several months. In fact, we were originally going to do this project before they joined, but it was actually the amount of time that it took was a lot of that was down to the fact the record company said, hey, we really want you to do this, but can you wait until we've got the 2 new members really, you know, properly in position? So I was spending a lot of time going to the gigs, getting to know them during this all. But anyway, yeah. So because we've got the two singles that are currently studio recorded are without them, we were a little bit unsure about posting these videos as something new. So instead, they were examples of the band. But the Tokyo Washoi video that's going out, that's actually just using audio from live performances. Which, as you know, the album that they've released as well, that's a live album. So we're going to already be approaching it from that standpoint with this. But my big hope is that obviously if people keep on paying attention to the band, then all these stats, it influences the record company more to give me permission to do what I really want to do, which is take them into the studio, record all of the songs brand new with all the members, record a full-on album. And then, you know, after that, we can get a music video and then really sort of produce the product sounds so cold, but the stuff that will make them popular online with a wider audience. Yeah.
So do they have more songs than the ones that appear on the live album, or is it just the 7, 8 they've got?
So the live songs do pretty much cover... I think that's pretty much all of it. They've got 2 songs that have been premiered since then, but I think it's kind of a thing where they're 50-50 on exactly which songs they want to move ahead with. So I know at the moment there is a lot of they really want to, I think, sort of apportion the songs properly. You know, they're maybe working out who's singing which bits and everything. Mm-hmm. So there is a little bit of discussion going on about what the end set list would be for an EP, but definitely they are testing some songs at the moment is what I would say.
Good.
So there could be new stuff coming out soon, but definitely the ones on the live album, those ones are all ones that we want to get produced. And I'm a big fan. There's a song called Nonsense Warp on there, which I think is a really fun song, and I really want to get that one put in there, partly because we get a lot of Meppo, and Meppo is quite a character, and so seeing a lot more of her on that song, I thought that was fun. You know, she gets to jump into a full-length rap and everything. It's just a really cool, catchy song, very light and very sort of bouncy. Yeah, so there's a lot of really cool stuff. They've got 2 singles at the moment, are really rock, but yeah, they got a lot of different music for sure.
Do I detect a bit of a bias there?
Do you know what? I was actually thinking about this because the whole joke on my channel is the whole #NoBias thing, where I always sort of talk about if I have a bias towards a particular member or not. I have like a bias towards pretty much all of the members individually. I think
that's a bit of a cop-out.
It is a bit of a cop-out. I mean, the weird thing is almost every answer to that is kind of a cop-out. I think the person who I probably have most in common with is probably Uzi, because, you know, we have, I think, a very similar and very bad sense of humor. But the thing is that she's the longest standing member of the group. So you can't #NoBias the longest standing member of the group, you know, because she's already the most popular one. That's way too easy. So, but I got to be honest, actually, one of the things I never really got to talk about this in the interview, but one of the things I really enjoy is every time we do this, like anything involving the band, you can always see that Rezi is the one who, her whole body language, she really kind of wears her heart on her sleeve. You can just see, like, the minute she sort of sees you, you come in, you say hello to her, and she's like this. Yeah, she bounces up, and she's like, oh, really interested. Like, what's going on? What's going on? And like when we did those interviews, you know, you saw in the video, we did it one at a time. I put Rezi's bit first, but that was not just out of coincidence. Literally, when we were like, okay, who's the first person who wants to sit down and do a one-on-one interview? And like, this is like, the screen will show you the questions. It's going to be a bit experimental. And it was kind of a bravery test. And Rezi just bounced up out of her seat, like, I'm going to do it. Like, there's like about half a second where the members were like, oh, I don't know. And then just Rezi, me. And yeah, I just find, I think, to be honest, Rezi's one of those people who she just makes everything so cheerful. So if I was to be biased towards someone, it would probably be her. Plus, on top of the fact that just her voice, it sounds like, you know, she's got such a cute persona, and then when she starts singing, it sounds like she's going to punch someone in the face. It's like, oh, jeez. Chill, relax. Like the Tokyo Washoi song, she's just got like this line where like everyone in the audience who's seen the band before knows it. She does this one line where she really leans into it. And yeah, just she's such a like a cheerful presence to be around, that if I was to #NoBias, I'd probably go for Rezi, actually. I'm pretty good for Rezi, is my point. But Meppo as well. Meppo's one of those people I think everyone's just going to fall in love with Meppo anyway, because she's just like, she's got the bilingual thing. She's got the cool hair. She's going to have a lot of fans already. So I think all these girls are going to have a lot of fans.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying.
Have you got a favourite?
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh!
No, hey, I always have a bias in a group. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you can get away with it because you're not a reviewer. Go on, let's hear your bias.
Anne.
Ah,
I think
choice.
because she seemed really quiet.
Yes.
And I like she seemed quite quiet and timid and stuff. So she appealed.
It's got the cuteness to her. Yeah, I get that. I think sometimes it's nice when you've got a member who it's just like there's no. They're just sort of like there's something very pure about them. They just sing and they're happy. Yeah, I think that Anne, she obviously she's the newest member, but I think the thing that really caught me about her is that she's kind of like a woman of few words. In that when she does like the performance and everything, she's very graceful, very professional. You know, something just like. It's weird because you see her in person and she just seems very cute and innocent. You think, oh, are you really cut out for this? You know, it's kind of almost like, are you a little bit too innocent for this? But then goes on stage and she's really clicks. You know, she's got a very, very professional approach to her work. And I really respect that because I was unsure when I first saw her and I first saw her post. And I was like, are you ready for this? But yeah, she's goes on stage and she probably holds the group together, you know, sometimes. So yeah, no, she's fantastic.
I mean, she reminds me from the very little that I've seen, obviously on the videos on their channel and on your video. She reminds me of Yui from Baby Metal, because Yui was really quiet and coy, but you know she could bring it when she needed to, and I think that's probably why I like Anne the most out of the 5.
Yeah, she's got the hair to match as well. But I think, I think if you're a Yui fan, you'd probably be, an Anne fan as well. It's interesting because like Anne and Mashi both have these very cute personas, but they're very different people, which I find quite intriguing. Like, so on the surface, they both just look like the cute ones, but there's something very different about them. Like, I think it was interesting. If you look at the interviews, I got the transcripts of the interviews for doing the subtitles, and it kind of occurred to me that like Mashi's was probably the longest. Like she talked the most, whereas Anne's is one of the shortest. It's like really, and it's like Anne is like she's really the lady of very few words, whereas Mashi is the lady of quiet words. It's like she's talking so quietly, but then I look at the transcript and it's like actually she talks very quickly, so quietly. But and it's like this whole stream of things she's saying, and I was like, actually, she said a lot, and she's very in-depth personality, you know, very insightful as well. I was like, Mashi, like, yeah, you should talk more. So we should a volume at which we can hear you at least, you know. Yeah, no, this is one of the other things I really loved about them from step one is that all the members are so different. Like,
who was the one? Different. I can't remember which one it was that had the bag that like started taking everything out of the handbag.
Meppo. Yeah,
was that Meppo? Was it right? Okay, yeah.
Meppo with her anime otaku bag, where she just starts like pulling on. Like seriously, so we were trying to, when we filmed people behind the camera, in front of the camera, we were trying to film people behind the camera as well, but there was a bit of a problem with the phone camera, unfortunately. But at that moment, while she's doing that, that's kind of at the end of the same table where we had the group interview.
Okay.
So it's kind of like at the narrow end of the table, and they're sitting at the wide end. So while each member's doing that, the other members are still in situ, kind of 90 degrees around and behind the camera. And you can't quite hear it because I've got a good directional microphone, unfortunately. But just when she starts pulling out her bag, it was so funny. Like the rest of the group just start giggling. And the one I remember is Uzu just like put both her elbows on the table and she went, oh. So Oh, here we go. So she just immediately gave up on life the minute the bag came out. And what I really loved is that if you could see everyone behind the table, it's like Meppo knew this was going on, and she just kept on. She's like, I don't give a damn. I'm talking about my stuff. So I don't care about what you think. I'm in anime mode right now. And just the way she was like picking through the contents of her bag, I really got a good giggle out of that, because you just don't see quite how confident that actually was. That was kind of, there was a bit of a statement to that, because she could see everyone else's response and she kept with it anyway. And also, the funny thing is, just like I mentioned this in part one, but when Anne did her interview, she was kind of a little bit shy. And again, Uzu, I think, as the kind of the founding member, she was very much, kind of like the joking side dropped a little bit, and she was very reassuring to Anne. She was like, yeah, I didn't quite get everything, but she's just like, sort of talking to her and, giving her like a positive vibe, because you could tell, like, for some of them, for Anne and Mashi, the idea of being interviewed in that kind of setting was a little bit more, it wasn't something they were quite so sure how to deal with. But I noticed from my Twitter, at least, and yes, I'm still going to Twitter, from my Twitter at least, that Anne is the one who's been liking most of my posts ever since the interview. So I think now she's seen it, I think she's a little bit more like, oh, good. It's all right. It's okay. Everything's all right.
Oh, I'm not jealous at all.
If you come here, I'll take you to the show. Yeah, it's it's a total joy just to be around them. I don't like to take too much of their time, because obviously they're professional, like, working musicians, performers, and so I'm always very cautious with their time. If I see them at a show, after the show they have the meet and greet thing, I just leave them alone. I don't go up to them after the show. Occasionally they'll sort of gesture at me, and I'll come over and say hi and just chat with them, have a little bit of a giggle with them. But then I leave them alone to do their work, because I think that's kind of important.
How many times have you seen them now?
I think I've been to 6 shows now. I was really kind of glad that once we started doing the filming, and that interview was a big turning point, because up until that point, I was just a voice on the internet who was saying, look, I've got a YouTube channel. You've probably seen me at 1 or 2 shows, because I've noticed this band. And I introduced myself in a very joking way. My first email to them was very sort of filled with humor, because I thought there's no point approaching this too seriously. It's like approaching with a little bit of humor. And so when we did that first interview, they had a show in the morning and a show in the evening, and we were basically right in the middle. And they gave us the time that we were supposed to do the interview, and I booked an office right around the corner from the show, because it was in Shimokitazawa. I'm not super familiar. Well, I know Western Tokyo, but nowhere near as well as know Eastern Tokyo. But Shimokitazawa, I know. So I was like, okay, this little part of Western Tokyo, I know this part really well. So I booked an office right around the corner from the venue. At a decent price. It was good enough, which is where we decided to film. And so we had like a 45-minute bracket to film them in. And I found out, they didn't tell me about the evening gig. I found out about the evening gig myself, and I actually contacted them and I said, look, I know you got an evening gig. And like, are you sure you can turn this around? And they were like, okay, yeah, no, it's fine. So anyway, we're waiting for the so me and my friend, follower of my channel, who was actually the translator as well, who sort of sped things along for me. We're both sitting outside the office waiting for our time to come up there, because it's got an automated lock that you have to open with an app and everything. And we're just sort of sitting there. I've just come from the morning show, because I saw them at that show, and we're sitting outside. And then just like the band walked past, like all jolly, just like, and with the manager, we're like, oh, hi. And they're like, yeah, we're going for something to eat. We'll be back in a minute. And like, okay. And so we sit there, and then eventually they come back. I'm telling you the whole story now, might as well. Eventually they come back, but they come back like 10 minutes late. And we're like, okay, they're 10 minutes late for the interview. It's like, oh, okay. So we get them in, and they're like, just setting up, we're sort of getting them all sat down, making sure the lighting's pointing them properly. The lighting was not so good at the interview. There was a couple of problems, but anyway. But at the time, we were trying to get everything sorted out. And so the manager and the record company person were both in there. And we're talking to them like, okay, so time-wise, this is okay. And they were like, yeah, you've got about 45 minutes. I was like, okay. We started doing the interview, and we did the group bit first of all, because I thought we'll do the group bit first of all to relax them all, so they all get to see me and like know what I'm like as a person, and then we'll move them on to the individual bit. So we filmed it in that order. And we did the group bit, and we had a laugh. They were really enjoying it, as you can see. That was really fun. And then just when we finished the group bit, we started doing the individual ones, and we were like, "This is going to overrun." And we just turned to the record company person, the manager, and we were like, "Yeah, this is gonna go a bit long, we think." And she went, "You got all the time you want." And we were like, and I think it was that kind of like, I looked at the guy who was doing the translation, who's Japanese, and he looked at me, and we kind of both knew what that meant, which is like, yeah, we needed to check if this was legit, but we're happy now. So like we got halfway through, and it was like, no, they're happy. Yeah, you go as long as you want. So we kept it pretty tight and pretty quick still, but we managed to get a good amount of time with them. And I think ever since then, just the whole vibe of things has been much more positive. And the point I was going to say is this led up to now when I go to the gigs, they like the manager just meets me at the door, and I always book in. I go to pay, and then just like, as I go to pay, she walks up and she's oh no, and she puts like the little thing around my arms, like, hey, come in. So yeah, it's
that's very good.
Yeah, they just let me come in free of charge. So that was, see, you asked me one question, I was going to give you the answer for that, and instead I gave you an entire story that was disconnected just to set up the answer to the question. Told you not to let me speak too much.
Hey. Go on. So what was the answer you were going to give? Or was that the answer you were going to give?
I thought that was the answer. Yeah, I thought this was the question about how many gigs I've been to, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
I was trying to explain to why I've been to so many, is because I get into them free now. That was the point. I'm just going to answer questions that you don't ask. So, you just say whatever you want, and I'll answer a totally different question.
Right, that helps a lot.
Last show. Anyway.
So where do you see this going with them?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of potentially high ambitions, but the one thing you learn from working with artists, especially on this level, is never to always have a goal, but never get your hopes too high. Because there's always something that could go wrong, whether it be with the management, the record company, maybe a member leaves, maybe there's a problem with the band, there's something they're unhappy with, maybe it could be any number of things. Maybe they get tired of doing gigging, you always get that. People are really excited about it. You never know what's going to happen in the lives of any of the people involved in this. But I feel that this is going well. So if I allow myself to be optimistic, then honestly, I think this whole DaDaDaDay thing, it lit up an extra sense of joy and excitement in the girls. I mean, everyone's different, but at least 3 of them, I can say, 3 of them felt like they enjoyed it, and 3 of them seemed to really sort of engage with it. Like, oh wow, yeah, we really want to do more of this. And for me, that's kind of the intriguing thing, is because so long as I can keep that enthusiasm. As I mentioned, I want to take it to doing things like recording an album. And then we record an album. Then, once you've got that product to sell, then we can do a music video. And once you've got a music video, then we can start doing more things online. I've already said if they get an album, I want to do they can do like one of those, they call it the online signing things, where they can sign the albums on a live stream. So you guys can see them sign the albums for you and stuff like that. And, they can send it to people, anyone who's contributed towards my channel. Because let's face it, that interview, that didn't pay for itself. That office was paid for by like people contributing to my channel. So, people like who've been supporting that, getting them signed copies of the album. I can't get you free copies of the album, but if there was an album, I could get you signed copies, maybe some kind of discount. This is the kind of thing that I want to do. And then, once you've got that, once you've got songs online, once you've got music videos online, then it's kind of I mean, in a way, it's a rinse and repeat. Obviously, not creatively. It's not a rinse and repeat. Creatively, you have to stay fresh. You have to stay original. You have to have ideas. You have to set yourself apart. But in a sort of mechanical way, it is rinse and repeat. It's like, okay, find the next song, write the next song, get the right people, get the right things. I mean, I could be writing. I'm already thinking about taking some songs that I've written professionally. I've got license over, giving that to them and saying, look, can we work this into a band thing? You know, maybe get members of our community to like record the guitar lines and stuff, because there's better guitarists in the community than me. I could be like, hey, do you want to credit on the album, record the guitar line, send it over, and I'll put it in the mix, you know, stuff like that. I mean, it could be anything. It really could be anything. But I just want us to use this whole platform that we have to do more and just, you know, push them in the direction of success. I think the future is very hard to predict, so I try not to get too ahead of myself. But I know I just want to get them into the space where I can actually be producing material with them, and them really getting the most out of it. Because I love that they enjoy live houses, but I want them to what they're doing is so good that it feels sad to contain it. You know, I want them to both like ignite the live houses where they can have the responses directly in front of them, but also be able to look at like a wider response and go, you know, what we do makes more people happy. So yeah, that's my generic goal.
I think a music video would definitely be something people would enjoy, like a proper music video for Doppel. I would personally, I would love that, because I think
I got a treatment for one. I got a treatment for one. Yeah, I got a really good treatment for one. It would be cheap to film, but it would take me a lot of time to edit. But it would be the sort of thing where I'd say, look, if you let me do this, then again, I could do a similar thing to what I did with DaDaDaDay and take a week out and just say to everyone, look, it's going to be hopefully worth it, but I want to do something big here. And then if I had a week of like working, you know, sort of like doing a full 14, 15-hour day for a week, then I could probably do it. That's the sort of work when you're working on editing. 14, 15-hour days is not really that bad, because you're always starting from point A. You can see where the goal is, and you're sitting in front of a computer, you're focused, you have your things around you. When it comes to editing, it's not like, you know, a real job. You know, doing a day that long is actually not that bad. So yeah, because we do is that when anyone who's done editing, whether it be sound or video, you know that feeling. You go to sleep and you can't sleep because all you can think about is waking up and carrying on. You wake up and you just get straight back in your chair and you just keep going. You don't think about the toilet, you don't think about eating, you don't think about any of this stuff. You just keep going. And eventually when you get to the end, you're just like, God, I really need a sandwich. Yeah, I'd love to do a music video, but yeah, I want to keep it bright and colorful, because one of my main critiques, and see what you think about this, a lot of their band photographs I felt were like really professional, but although they were really professional, they didn't show how fun the band were. They were kind of cool. You know, their band photographs all look really cool. And it's like, if you look at a candid photograph of the band, they just look nuts. You know, they look absolutely insane. They're usually jumping around doing something silly. I know that's harder to frame, but that's who they are, and I think there should be more of that. So, like, for example, the picture I've got behind me, the reason I picked this one is still very much a posed photograph. But even though it's very posed, you know, it's closer. You can see their faces, and so much of what the band is like carried in their facial expressions. I mean, the funniest one is like Uzu in all of this. Uzu comes out as the person who looks most calm, and yet she's probably
the least.
Yeah, she's nuts. She's absolutely crazy. I think we need to like make sure that she has a doctor with her if she ever goes on tour. I don't know what's going on in that girl's head. I get the feeling that if they're looking for renewable energy, they should just like sort of plug in the mains into Uzu. She's got enough energy source of her own. I don't know where it's coming from, but that girl could power a city.
So do they? Do they do tours across Japan, or are they kind of Tokyo based?
It's very much Tokyo based. This is kind of a thing with like Japanese artists as a general, though, isn't it? And maybe it's not just Japanese artists, because I've experienced this in other countries with other artists, but it's very much a thing that is definitely true in Japan, whether it be true anywhere else. Is the idea you get those artists who, well, I guess in England, in Britain at least, we would reference like the local hero, you know, the band who in their town. Everyone knows them. They play maybe one show a week at one of the free venues around the area. Everyone knows them. They've been playing those venues for like 20 years. Everyone goes, rocks them out, knows the songs. But, you know, you go like 10 miles down the road, no one knows who the hell you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so it's not like that. But there is probably there's a similarity to me in the sense of because they're playing. Okay, they've got loads more venues to pick from. Obviously, it's much more active, being, you know, sort of an artist in, you know, Tokyo live houses and playing with so many other artists every night. But I can't help but feel that, again, this just playing in Tokyo is a little bit limiting. But then this is the point I was trying to make: is the record company, they're lovely people, and what incentive is there for them to take a risk paying for this group to go to another city, which is an expensive operation, maybe playing in a venue run by a company who I haven't dealt with before, maybe I'm go through different people. There's a lot of things, and, you know, you do a live show, you usually have to play with several other groups, so you have to kind of organize it. It's not impossible, but it's potential loss. And plus, you know, the girls, you know, several of the girls are in university, a couple of them have their own work, you know, it would be a hard thing to organize. So I understand why the record company are focused on Dadadams and their other artists. They keep them in a kind of a good circulation of good quality local live houses in you know, the biggest city is, I believe it's still the biggest city in the world. So the reason why I've been offering all of this stuff free of charge to them has very much been a case of, like, I kind of wanted to say, well, look, here's a chance to do something outside of that cycle without breaking that cycle, without costing you a penny. It's like the only thing you have to do is trust me to be the person who does it, and hopefully the result will be something that you'll be happy with, and then you can say, okay, we'll do more of that. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, to be honest. It's like just trying to give them a way of going out of that, because if they're not touring to other cities, which I understand logistically, then being online is another way to travel. Anyway.
Have they done any online gigs, or is that something you think you might do with them?
I'd love to. When I originally thought of this idea, I was actually thinking of, like, recording, instead of doing like the live thing that we did for the DaDaDaDay, I was actually thinking of taking them just to like a practice room and saying, well, look, why not just record it as like an exclusive live or something? But then kind of realize that in itself is kind of hard to organize. I think if you're in a big band who usually tours, then doing like an online live show is really easy, because it's just like, well, look, yeah, take some of that capital you've already got, book a venue, and then sell the tickets. But the problem with doing an online live for a small group is that you don't have the bar expenses, so you can't pay the venue off that way, which means you've got to pay the venue off entirely in ticket sales. The ticket sales will be cheaper, and of course you're not looking at as many people anyway. You know, if it was something like Bandmade, it's like they could book a venue and say, look, okay, to the venue there will be no drinks sold because this is streamed online, but we can assure you there'll be 5,000 people. They'll all be checking in online. They might pay half the price, but there's going to be more people watching online than you can fit in this venue, because we don't need a big venue, and we'll give you half the ticket sales. And you don't have to worry about cleaning up afterwards, because there's going to be no one in here to make the place dirty. You know, I mean, that's kind of thing, is that for a group that size, that I think there's no excuse not to play at least once a year, do one of those online shows, so that, you know, your fans who maybe don't have so much money or live in countries where you know you're never going to tour to, give them that opportunity. But for small groups, it is a bit of a logistical difficulty, especially when it's a group like this where there's 5 of them and they need a stage to dance on. So you can't just do this in your bedroom. You can't have one of those like Zoom things where each person appears in a different window and you play your instruments. No. You got to dance together. You're gonna need a big room. So yes.
So
yeah, they haven't done the online live, so I don't think.
Is there any word on what's happening with the 6th member? Is she gone, or is she just gone for a while?
Sorry, I'm going to say something.
Okay.
Sorry. So I'm just going to completely shoot my last point in the foot a bit. They don't do online lives, but if you go to the actual live show, they do have a camera in the back of some of them, and you can pay to watch the actual live show. And I think they're doing that with one coming up mid-August. So I think there might be a show mid-August where you can actually pay to watch the live show online. But I'll have to check what the details are about that. But it's not like a specifically online live thing. It's just like there's a camera at the back of a normal live and you get to watch a live stream. So yeah, you mentioned with the other member. So because her name is a pronoun, so I have to like say she is. So when I say she is, it's literally she. I think that's why she chose that name, because that's why she chose that name. That's a double. Yeah. So the other member is called she. Well, ironically, she. So she was the one who was in the group before Anna and Mashi joined, but I think now I haven't pried too much, because the group are very close, and obviously she's still beloved. I mean, she turned up at one of their recent live events to cheer them on, and was just kind of backstage with them, hanging out. The truth is that I'm not really sure how that would even work. I don't think there is any room to put her back in the group. I think it's more a case of the fact that it might be concerned, it might become some kind of reserve role that she takes, occasionally taken over from other members. A lot of these smaller groups often have to play shows where one member is missing. Like, so for example, right now, Dadadams are doing 2 shows this week, I believe, where Reggie's actually missing because I think she's doing something study related, because they're young and they turn a profit, but they're not rich, so they've got other places to be. There was one show the other day where literally just Uzu and Meppo turned up and did it as a duet and just did the show together, just the 2 of them. They didn't bother with the outfits, just the 2 of them turn up and they're like, oh, we're just going to do it together. And they always announce in advance if one member's going to be missing or if they're going to do it as a duet performance, which is obviously much rarer. So it's more than feasible that she could enter that kind of role, occasionally stepping in if one member's missing or something like that. But again, I don't know exactly how that would fit and how they'd feel about that. If one member doesn't turn up and then there's a backup just waiting to take their spot, I don't know, that could feel a bit weird for them. And plus, if it's taking the spot of a different person each day, does that really work? Is that really a plausible thing to do? So I'm just not 100% sure how she's going to be reinserted back into the group. But I get the feeling that she's just kind of part of the family. So, knows the songs, knows the dances. There, should anything catastrophic happen, because, with smaller groups, it's harder to predict what the future is going to be, as we were saying earlier. But I'm not expecting an imminent return. I know that she's on all of their social media stuff, and she's definitely a good friend of the whole, she's part of the family, but yeah, I'm not expecting an imminent return. Let's put it that way.
Okay. That was. I'd like to see who she actually is and see her perform as well as the others.
Who she actually is. I mean, ironically, if you want to see her perform, so like on the Dadadams channel, YouTube channel, which is also available, of course, there's a video of them practicing the dance for Doppel before Mashi and Anne join. And so that is Meppo, Uzu, Rezi with She. So that's the 4 of them prior. So you kind of see her there. She definitely is a very interesting character, but I wouldn't say I know her as well as the rest. I kind of know her almost anecdotally, because when I first got to know the band, it was the 4 of them, and most of their photographs online are still that line of those 4. And then, as I say, that's when I was like, okay, I want to get to know this band. And when I said that was when the record company said, yeah, so she's not really going to be. It's not going to be part of this moving forwards. But it was not sort of said as, oh, she's going, she's quitting. It was more kind of like, there's going to be 2 new members and she's going to be brought out of this situation. So I think even the record companies wish to do the video as we did. And the fact that we had that conversation where they're more interested in recording the songs with the 2 new members than, me putting out the songs without them, kind of suggests to me that they really want to invest a little bit in this current lineup as it is. I mean, they're all wonderful. It's just I know her less than the others, so it's really hard for me to really speak much on her, but definitely I think the photographs they've been putting out definitely suggest to me that they are. Actually, I've got the other one down here somewhere because I've been changing the frames around. But yeah, so for example, they had this photograph taken not so long ago. Again, not exactly super smiley, but you can see they're getting photographs with the 5 of them and everything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they need to have more funny photographs, but I like that one still. So I think it's the 5 of them moving forwards is my guess, my best guess. Yeah.
So long as Anne doesn't leave, I'll be happy.
I'm going to be honest. I think, like, I don't know if you've seen much of the live stuff since Anne's joined, but she's popular. She's popular. Like there's been a couple of shows where, you know, when like you get the space between like the songs and everyone starts cheering, you'll often hear like a few people chanting for Anne. She's got a lot of fans. I don't know if it's just like the new girl thing, you know, new girl's always popular, but definitely she's got some fans. It is really interesting how each one of them seems to appeal to like a very different demographic. And it is true, you have the meet and greets afterwards, and you know, people buy tickets for the meet and greet. And when they do that, yeah, they often get to like have a photograph with a member of the band. And it's really interesting. Like, I'll sit back at the bar and I'll just like sit there, have a little drink, have a little coffee or something. I kind of keep a mental tally of, you know, who everyone goes to have their meet and greet with and everything. Just kind of like, oh, okay, yes. Who's popular today, you know? It's always kind of fun, yeah, seeing that. But,
yeah, who do you want to have your meet and greet with? If you were just a fan and not a hanger-on?
Do you know, I hanger-on. Again, I think there's something so difficult. I think there's something about Uzu where she's just like so fun to chat to that and you know, you've seen from the interview, she talks very quickly. But again, I think I'm going to have to lean a bit towards Reggie just because she's so enthusiastic. You know, just the joy, the way that she's so excited about everything. She's one of those people who I guess that's the thing. I really want to get to know more about Reggie because I get the feeling that there's like a lot more to her that we don't know. Like there's a lot of layers that I think we are yet to uncover with this woman. But yeah, she's really funny. So hopefully we'll get to know her a little bit more as well. And that's another thing about this whole project is because of course we've got second part of DaDaDaDay coming up on Sunday. But after that, we're going to have really, I'm going to be sort of keeping up with the band, hopefully doing more projects with them as well. But I'll be sort of keeping up with them, maybe have time for like another catch-up interview, maybe talking to more of the members in the future. But yeah, I really hope that we will get to know the members of the band more. We'll get to see more of Anne, and we'll get to see more of all of them. So yeah, it's definitely a thing that I think is plausible. That there'll be a chance to really get to know more of them on a deeper level. But some of the questions. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say some of the questions that they gave to the second part really kind of like highlight that there is a lot of depth to them. There's a lot of depth to the individual members. Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever get them, or do you think we'll ever be able to see them on Baka Broadcast channel?
I genuinely believe that if we get to the point where I'm allowed to record in the studio with them and record like a music video with them, I think that immediately right there is a green light. Because the minute that happens, the minute basically I'm trusted to do a project like that with them, then I mean that would in itself be the setting. You know, you could go and do like a studio session and right there just set up the camera, put on the internet, and like have a live session right there, or have a session where they do specially something for the channel. I see no reason why not. And if I do end up working with them enough to be doing a blog about our working together, then obviously they'll be regularly on the channel in that form as well. So I'm kind of confident that we will see them. I would be honestly quite disheartened if we didn't. Yeah. I think it's quite plausible, quite likely, and I think it certainly is the desirable outcome that we'll be seeing a lot more of them just kind of like on the channel, you know, just popping in here. Oh, here's a little video. Oh, we're doing this for them. We're doing that with them. Again, I don't want to be like hogging their time or being like, sort of using them too much as view fodder or something like that. But I want them to feel like we're doing something productive together, and that in that process they get to, sort of say hi, and because they know it's been presented this way from the start. This all stems from this channel. What they're doing is, appearing on a channel that exists because it's a community. So that they know that this is all very much about not just me, but the people who watch what we do, who are on our Discord, on the YouTube. So yeah, absolutely. I hope we see more of them, for sure.
Have you tried to get them to join your Discord?
Do you know what? There's a couple of layers to that, isn't there? First of all, is the fact that most people on my Discord don't speak Japanese, and only one of them speaks English and isn't particularly confident in it. And the second layer to that is the fact that our Discord. I think that I love our Discord, but you have to have a thick skin to get on that one. I would feel kind of like a little bit. I'd feel a little bit worried, like I was taking take your kids to work day, except for you just happen to work in in a pub or something. It's like here are these people who I desperately want to protect and look after, and I'm taking them into a situation where anything can happen at any moment. So to be honest, I know that several of them would be pretty much up for the joke, but so I was having a good laugh with Uzu, because Uzu's whole thing is, as she said in the interview, because of her red hair and her teeth, she's referred to as a hamster. And so I was kind of like joking with her, like doing a lot of hamster jokes and everything. And there was a clip that came up of them recently online where they were doing like a guessing game for like this stage show thing. And I think it was Anne. So basically one member holds the microphone, and then behind them is like the presenter, who holds up a card with a word on it. And then the rest of the band are standing looking at her, and they have to mime what the word is.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And then when she guesses the word, she can run over, hand the mic to one of the other band members, who runs up and does the same thing. And so they were doing this over and over again, and they were doing really well. And then Anne's turn comes up. Anne runs, grabs the microphone, runs, turns her back, and then the word behind her is pyramid. And not pyramid scheme. And so like all the girls are doing this, all the girls are doing like pyramid shapes and things. And then for some reason, Uzu just gets down on her knees and does like a sphinx pose like this. And it's like this is the one where the time ran out because they couldn't work out. This video's on Twitter. It's really funny. And so this whole thing happens, and so in response to that, I just posted a photograph of the Sphinx, but with a hamster face put on the front of it. And Uzu's reply was, I have become an Egyptian god. Like, there you go. It's like, not very good at charades, but you have become an Egyptian god. I really think that there's a lot of humor there to be had that I think is really worth sharing. But I think that Uzu would be great fun to have on these online settings, but all of them have very different sense of humor. So who knows? One day we'll get to see this, but I think, because they don't really speak English, I don't know how far that would go. But definitely, that's one of my main roles, is translating things. So, for example, we had a lot of reaction videos done to their songs. I'm going to be translating those videos and giving them to them, so that they can hopefully do a reaction video back. Would be my goal. Is I want to get them to do a reaction video to the reaction videos to them, and also I'll show them some of the comments on the YouTube comments on their videos and stuff, and I'll give them like a selection of those so that they can like read and respond to those as well. So I really want to get them involved in that side of things, but I think most of it's going to happen through some sort of translated medium, at least in the midterm.
I think them reacting to the reactors would be good.
Yeah, I really hope that happens. That'd be great. We've got a couple more reactions hoping. Yeah. See if they've emailed me back. I got a couple more reactions that are due to come in. this week. I was hoping that it would get done before the weekend, but I don't think they will. So you either get reactors who turn things around super quick, or you get reactors who take a couple of weeks. But yeah, I don't think we're going to see those other reactions until after the weekend. So we'll see how it goes. Can we take a quick pee break?
Of course, yeah.
I'll be right back. Coffee. One moment. I don't know if you have to restart it or if it's just going to keep on going and you'll edit that bit out.
I just paused it. It's fine.
Oh, okay, cool.
That was quick. I hope you washed your hands.
I yeah.
It's as good as anything.
That's why I grow this beard.
That's like a hand drying thing, yeah.
Yes, exactly. I'm glad you understand it. I can see you've been doing it for a while. Yeah, so I'm just kind of like I'm really. I've said this so many times before that it almost sounds cliche now, but I'm just really. I'm enjoying this project. I really believe in it. It's exciting for me, but it's something that I genuinely. I feel like a vested emotion in it. I genuinely want to see them succeed. I want to see them do well, and I think they deserve it. The record company's lovely, and just everyone's been so good, which in itself seems like a rather throwaway statement. But again, it's not something that's normal, even in Japan. Record companies, they tend to be rather resistant. They tend to be old-fashioned, even if they're polite. They're not particularly up to date a lot of the time. So you say, "Hey, let's go on the internet," and they're like, "Oh shit, the internet. What's the fax number for that?" You're like, "Oh god."
I think it'll go well. They've certainly been popular amongst the guys, not only on your Discord, but across on Neon's and some of the guys on the other cord. They've been enjoying the music and that as well. So I think they'll do pretty well if they can make that break and just But I think a music video is something that would certainly help with that.
I am concerned that they don't have enough material recorded. That's my big concern, because I want people who've just come off the back of 2 songs now not to have to wait a month for the next song, because the problem is that every moment that passes is a moment to hear something else and forget about what you heard before. There's a reason why singles used to come. Bands used to record like an album every 2 or 3 years, and singles were really spaced out. But now it all happens regularly, and every song on an album gets its own single release almost. And there's a reason that attention spans are a big thing in marketing, and so I am concerned about making sure the turnover speeds up. But again, this is all going to come down to my relationship with the record company, and that in itself is going to come down to them seeing positive outcome from everyone responding. So. I'm really looking forward to I'm really looking forward to this Saturday's one. This Saturday's one's going to be Sunday. This Sunday's one's going to be really fun. I was saying Saturday because I've got to finish the edit tomorrow, and tomorrow's Saturday. But yeah, this Sunday's one's going to be really fun. And just seeing. I asked the six. I keep saying six.
Yeah.
I keep saying six. I asked the 5 girls the magical question that I do at the end of all of my interviews, which is, what, if anything, would you banish from existence? Like, what do you want to destroy? And so far, we've had some great ones from other people in previous interviews. Like, I remember where we had the whole thing about killing my upstairs neighbor. Then that was brilliant. Then we had, was it Bat Mouse? And then we're doing the interview, and I was like, I'm interviewing, like, it's like Bat Mouse. I want to ban Bat Mouse. I was like, it's a bat and a mouse. It's like, I was like, is this a thing in Japan I don't know about? And she's like, no, bad mouth. Oh, bad mouthing people. You want to ban bad? She said bat mouse. I was like, oh, shit. But we got some good ones in this batch as well, and it's really interesting to see as well of the 5 members, how many are like really eager to destroy things they don't like, and how many are like, no, I don't feel bad about anything. Quite. It's really insincere responses.
So I'm going to ask about your background, because obviously you've been able to get in about and all this, and people on your Discord do call you is it Grizzled Music Industry Veteran? So what
Yeah,
actually is your
be,
background?
yeah.
I've never asked you this before, so what actually is your background?
It's a bit of a complicated one because it became a bit of a cliche because I didn't, and so I kind of lean into and enjoy that term, Grizzled Music Industry Veteran, because it's really hard to know how to describe the whole thing. Effectively, I kind of, for a while, a few years back, I started using the phrase, look, I've worked with music my entire adult life. I was like, this is the easiest sentence because it's like, since I became an adult, I have always in some capacity worked with music. Sometimes it was like a little bit as a side job, like a extra thing. A lot of the time it was as a primary job, but I've always been around music. So let's have a quick recap of the life of Howard as quickly as possible. So I left home when I was 15, and I kind of got into it was a share house. Then it turned out that actually, no, this is not a share house. No one's paying for this. It's actually we're all dossing. It's like, oh, okay. But I started, I sort of always had an interest in music from a young age. That's a whole different story. But it never really been something that had been around me. I knew that I liked music and I had no real way of connecting with that. And, I didn't have a CD player or anything to listen to music on really, other than an old rickety radio. I just kind of knew I wanted to do something around music. And so I'd started playing a little old junky keyboard, managed to get hold of a cheap guitar eventually. And I was just trying to work out, just making sounds. And I found myself just really interested in making sounds, but I was a bit of a nerdy kid and I really liked sort of maths and science and those sort of things I really enjoyed. So for me, I always looked at music in a sort of a mathematical way. I was always interested in how you construct it, how you put it together, how it layers, why sounds work together, why frequencies work together, what is an octave, literally what is an octave. And I always wonder, how can anyone play music if they can't describe what an octave looks like on an oscilloscope, because it's just such a perfectly scientifically beautiful thing. I think most people can, but I'd probably be surprised to find a lot can't. But it's that idea of what sound is, and I was just fascinated by that. And a lot of people think that's very cold and it's very unemotional, but it's not, because all things that we find beautiful, there's an emotional reason that it's tied in with a mathematical reason, like beautiful art that is symmetrical and stuff like that. Anyway, to come back from a tangent slightly, basically, this was where I was. I knew I loved music, but I really didn't have any way of putting that together. And from being in this DOS house, I met a girl who I got on quite well with. She was a bassist. And so, we just started making a little bit of music, and I sort of put some things together. And by, I had a little tape deck that I eventually got my hands on. Then I had an really old PC. It was like a 486 or something. And I used the Microsoft sound recorder, which could only record in 1 second jumps. So all of my songs were 60 BPM or 120 BPM because I could only edit at exact 1 second jumps. Actually, you could do 0.25, but it was really finicky. And you'd still end up with a 60 or 120 BPM song. Anyway, so I was doing all this kind of thing. And I just kind of fell in love with that. And then by the time I was 16, I didn't really have the internet, but I had a friend who had the internet who he went to the same school as me, but he was really into sound engineering and he wanted to go off to college and become, learn how to work with audio acoustics, which he did. He started a really well celebrated small bespoke speaker company eventually, and really highly commended for that. But anyway, as kids, I would go around his place occasionally to play, and he wanted to mix sounds. So as a result, I was playing sounds and I was creating these songs, and he was helping mix and put them together. And this girl was providing some of the bass, and it just became this little thing where we were just kind of putting stuff together. But at the same time, because he had the internet, I got to know some people in America just over. This would have been back in. So I was 16, so 2001, 2002-ish, around about the time I was finishing school. I got to know some people in America, and this was back before we had social media, so obviously it was all on forums and stuff, and AOL Messenger and stuff like this. I think, no, we used MSN Messenger. We didn't use AOL, we used MSN Messenger. I remember MSN Messenger. Anyway, back to the point. So I said it's going to be a quick recap. It's not.
That's all right. I didn't expect it to be quick.
So we're on the I'm gonna forget the question. We're on the MSN Messenger. I got to know some people over there, and I ended up getting to know both this girl and the guy who both lived in and they were school friends as well, but they lived in this small town in North Carolina, and they weren't dating or anything. They just knew each other because they're in the same school. The guy was a bassist, and the girl just was like nice and social, and we just got on. So it ended up going at the age of 17. I went over to America, and I just was like, oh, okay, I'm going to go out there. I was like, I knew as well I wanted to travel. I wasn't really happy with, if you like, the world I grew up in. So I saved up as much money as I could, which wasn't much, and then a distant relative, like I'm in a very small family, but a distant relative died and just like left me like £1,000 or something, which I really didn't expect because I had never met this person before. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna take that. Took that, put it onto what I had, and went out to America. I met this guy who was the bassist, and we made a band together. We picked up. We had it was a 3-piece band, so the drummer changed every 5 seconds. And while we were out there, we got fairly noticed. We did a little bit of gigging, had a bit of fun, and went around places. And yeah, so I just I really ended up falling in love with playing live when I was in America, because in the UK I'd never really played live. There's a lot of local venues, and I never wanted to perform in front of people I knew. I always hated that. For me, it was a bit embarrassing. I didn't have the confidence for that. And so it was I wanted to perform in front of people I didn't know, so I could just kind of like be relaxed, be myself, and so that I got to do that in America, and I got to play, and people were much more receptive there. I think people were just wanted to have fun there. When you play a show, it was chilled. It was those little venues that you kind of expect to see in like a stereotypical American movie with like a bar out somewhere. It was that in the countryside, North Carolina. And so, after a couple of years, by the time I was about 19, I was kind of back to, life in the UK. And, then it just sort of spread out. I started working. I found like a local music shop that had a studio, and I started working there with like people who were recording there. So then I started getting involved in the recording side, because I met all musicians going through there. And so I started collaborating with every one of them. I was like, oh, I want to do something with you and something with you. And before I knew it, I was collaborating with so many musicians, because I never wanted to work with a musician on more than like one song. Because it's like, okay, I know what you've done. We've got a song out of that. Now I want to do something with you. And like, I was doing like so many collaborations with so many different people. And sometimes I'd be on the song, sometimes I'd be the person recording the song. And that's kind of where I got to know, and the person who ran the music shop above the studio, we would have like long conversations as well. And I really got to know about sort of old musicians, young musicians. I was meeting this huge range of different ages and experiences. And then on top of that, I got noticed for some of the work I did, and got the opportunity to come over to Japan. And I was offered a chance to work with like a recording company here. And so I came over here, and I didn't know anything about Japan, really. I kind of knew that I liked some of the music from Japan. So leading up to that, I started listening to it more, and I was like, wow, this stuff is really good. I was like, I'm really liking Japanese music. And I think really, just over those few years, I started falling in love with it. But then I came over, worked in Japan, and it went from wow, this is an interesting country, to just like, yeah, I got to live here. I was like, this country is amazing. I was like, just everything about it. I was like, all those things that I hadn't liked to, I always had trouble with people in a lot of places I've been before, and all the sort of people I didn't like were not in Japan. I was like, those kind of people just don't seem to exist here. And so, I did that. That ended after a year, as well it had to. So I went back to UK, started working more and more. And there was a lot of events really then between that and me eventually moving here. But just a lot of it involved, a big portion was being in Camden in London. I became a big part of the music scene in Camden, which really shocked me. But it was like it was a situation where me and my mentor, I guess you could call him, Steve, who again I got to know him online actually through music reviews, but I've known him for years now. we used to have this game where if we walked from one side of Camden to the other side, so from Chalk Farm to the Camden station, for anyone who knows it, we played this game where the two of us would walk that distance, and it would be, can we walk that distance without someone stopping us to say hello? It's like, never worked. Never worked. Like, any time of day you walk down there, someone would be like, oh, Steve, Howard, what are you doing? And start asking us about gigs playing that night. So it's almost like I came back from Japan, I went straight back into that mode, but instead of being in like small town England, now I was in like London, in Camden. But yeah, that's why when I came to Japan, I always wanted to get that hat back on my head, but it was very hard to do. It took a long time to feel like that because I wasn't working for a big company like I did when I first came here. It's not like I could just say, oh, here's a business card, you know, I work for someone big. It's like, no, I'm just random Johnny foreigner. So how do you get people to trust you? How do you get people to want to work with you? What do you really have to offer? And so there was a few years where it kind of stagnated. I worked on some projects, but it was never quite clicking, and I had trouble like with finances and everything because it was difficult for me to, as much as I love being here, you know, life has been much harder here in a lot of ways. But I just knew this is where I wanted to be and it's what I wanted to do. And then the YouTube channel, it became that thing. It was never meant to be this, but it started off as something where it was connecting me to music fans and allowing me to talk about the music that I loved. And then just this, as I started talking to more artists, I just realized, wait a second, this is my business card now. This is the thing. So I can't say I work for Pony Canyon or someone, but what I can do is I can say, look, I work for a YouTube channel, and like the future is social media, right? Future social media. Well, I work for a YouTube channel. Here's the thing. Check it out. I've got 4 figures worth of subscribers. I will put the effort into doing something. Work with me. And yeah, so I'm just kind of making that extension, or hopefully combining this thing that I've fallen in love with doing in recent years, this social media thing, combining that with what I'd loved doing for many years before. So yeah, that's, and so I've been in and out of studios. I've been around record executives. I've been around small bands who've been unsigned. I've been around bands who have been signed. I've been around all this kind of thing in that time. Played in venues, met every different stripe of musician from, multiple different continents. So I feel like what I lack in a lot of the official training, I make up in having way more experience than I think is normal for my age. That's my vibe. I get the feeling I have that. I get the feeling that I can walk into a lot of these situations and have a better understanding of what's going on than maybe someone who's much more qualified, well paid, and better trained than me. So I think I'm saving up on experience points more than anything, and so hopefully I can use some of that to have a relevant impact on the artists who I work with now. There you go. Was that a long enough answer?
We could get you to expand on it, actually. You said on this most recent Ears to the East, link in the description.
Oh, yeah.
You worked as a music journalist?
Yeah, that was a fun little period. That was a really fun little period. So there was... without boring you too much with the personal side of like my life outside of all of this, there was a period around when I came back from America. I came back from America, then I was kind of like my hometown area, then I went to Japan. When I came back from there, I kind of went back to my hometown area. But when I went back, I was really kind of aware at that point that, I have to get the hell out of here. I was like, I can't, I was like, grew up in this area. I left it. I came back to it. I left it. I came back to it again. And that's kind of led to that, and meeting a woman who I eventually decided to move in with. That brought me to the decision she was going to university in London, and we were like, okay, let's move to London. And we got this tiny little shoebox apartment, the smallest thing you could possibly imagine a couple living in, which I don't think was good for our relationship in the long term. But we did a good job. We made a few years out of that. But while I was there, that's kind of how I got acquainted with being in London. I'd had short stints of being in London before. It's not like I was unfamiliar with the place, but that's where I really sort of dropped anchor there and really sort of said complete goodbye to my sort suburban. So anyone who knows Gravesend, Dartford, it was that kind of area where I grew up. I kind of said goodbye to that area. And I was like, no, I'm not going back there ever again. And so I spent that time in London. And it was during that period I got to know a lot of people. And I got to know some amazing, like really wonderful people. I also got to know some of the most pretentious twats I've ever met in my entire fucking life. I thought small town people were bad. And then I met some of the people I met in London. I was just like, you people are insufferable fucking idiots. So I don't know how much we're allowed to swear on this, but I'm going to swear. Yeah, cheers. Bunch of cunts. So I remember it was just like, it was so, you know, for people who weren't that well off, it was that real cocktail party vibe. That you go to a house party and there was still that, oh, he's one of us kind of vibe with a lot of these people. And so you really had to pick between those two different types. But in the midst of it, I found this one person who was a gig photographer. And she was like photographing for a magazine, and I'd done a little bit. I'd occasionally written little blog posts here and there for various things I've been asked to do. And she asked me, like, oh, do you want to like write some articles for like gig things? Actually, yeah, at the time I think I was actually, another thing I'd done was I was being given free tickets to write reviews of movies. So I was actually going to the cinema free of charge and writing movie reviews at the time. That was short-lived because it was for a tiny little blog post thing. But they were paying for me to go to movies. And I actually got to go to some premieres and meet a couple of directors, which was really funny.
Oh, very good. Who's the most famous person you met?
Probably never even heard of him. But in the movie sense, it was I had a little chat with Antoine Fuqua. So he was the guy. He directed Training Day, but then when his version of The Equalizer came out, like it was the premiere of the very first one of those, I was actually at that as well in London, and I asked him a couple of questions. Ironically, I asked him about the music in the movie, which is even when you got me doing movie reviews, I'm still asking about music. So I was really always taken by how he works music into his movies very well, like the timing of the frames to the music. He's very good at that. So ironically, I asked him about that. But yeah, so that got me onto doing the publication. And that music publication, that's how I got to interview Miyavi, who I'd never heard of before I'd interviewed him. And it turns out he's like one of the most beloved Japanese guitarists. I was like, I had no idea who this guy is. And I was interviewing him right before he, I think he just finised filming that Angelina Jolie movie, the one about World War II, and he was in that. Can't remember what it's called. It's very famous, based on a book. But I interviewed him after that, and all he would talk about was the movie. And again, I was just like, dude, we're here to talk about music, all right? You're on top. And I couldn't help it. Like, all of his answers were just like stuff like talking about, oh, you know, they need more peace and love in the world, and the love's more peace. And I was like, dude, I'm trying to get a fucking interview out of this, and you're doing my it was like some people said to me later, it's like, oh, he's actually a really interesting guy. Apparently, it's like, oh, you know, maybe his English wasn't very good. I was like, well, why was that the only sentence he learned then? I mean, he did do. I'll be honest, his music is not usually my type of thing, but he did a stellar. We got free tickets to the show, and he did a stellar show. It was just him and a drummer. They were really good, so I give him credit where it's due. But yeah, so I got to interview him through it. I got to do 2 Chiari shows. I got to speak to Chiari Pami as well at the Roundhouse, which was great. So yeah, I got to do some really fun stuff with that. Those were the 2 Japanese artists, but as well, I got to meet a few other people, like Fun Loving Criminals. That was a weird one. I don't know if you remember Fun Loving Criminals. That's a 90s throwback. Zebrahead, who in their home country of America called Zebrahead. And I jokingly said to them, should I call you Zebrahead or Zebrahead? And they said, you can call us whatever you want. And then I responded to that with profanity. They're really lovely. I met them 3 times, actually, did 3 interviews with them. So yeah, that was a great time. But that whole publication was an absolute mess. And I was really upset to hear that a couple of the videos that I'd recorded, video interviews, they've apparently been lost. They deleted their YouTube page. I'm not sure they have been lost. I'm sure someone's got to have them. I really want to see the Miyavi one again. I got some stills from that. But I really want to see the interview again because I want to hear how awkward it was again. I really want to listen back to just how awkward that was. But yeah, we still got like when I interviewed like Patent Pending, we still got that one, and the Zebrahead. We got 2 of the Zebrahead ones still. But yeah, that was a good time. But that was kind of the crossover into journalism in a way, and yeah, that led to me doing the podcast, and the podcast led to the radio show, and the radio show led to Baka Breakdown, and Baka Breakdown led to Baka Broadcast. So in a way, there's kind of a through line from that to this.
So is any of that stuff still online then, your podcast, your radio?
The podcast is, there are some things in an account that we're struggling to get access to. I know James wants to really hear it because like that started off as just being me and James. So anyone who doesn't know about my channel, it was originally first set up by me, James, and Bubbles. The 3 of us set it up together because it was an extension of what we'd done before. But then obviously over time, it just became really me. And the other 2 just occasionally pop in to do something small and just say hi, and the community knows them at least. But yeah, so that the podcast aspect, some of those are really funny. And we did one which was me and James talking about what to do when you get Japanese special edition CDs. And there was a phase around about when we were doing that where I think it was in 2012 where there was this real craze where every CD you bought from Japan just had loads of stickers. And we were talking about like, what are we going to do with all these stickers? It's like, well, I don't want to stick them on anything because when you stick them on anything, it's basically dead because from that point onwards, you can never re-stick it so it's attached to that thing. And so we were joking about what's the most practical thing. And we were like, when you die, instead of a headstone, get a Perspex grave and just put all your stickers on it. And that should be your headstone, just a Perspex grave with all of your collected stickers, and you get buried underneath that. Yeah, we had a really fun podcast talking about that. And there was one where I was talking about walking through an underpass, and there was this busker, and he had a trumpet. And I was like, underpass, trumpet. I was like, this is going to be loud. And as I walked past him, and I kept walking. I just kept on looking over my shoulder like he's going to do it. And just as I get to the end, I jumped out my fucking skin. Like made me jump halfway from the underpass to my house. Yeah, so that was really funny. That podcast was just us talking about stupid stories in London and everything. So those were good times. But yeah, so when Baka, if you see Baka Breakdown, like the first couple of episodes of Baka Breakdown are a lot like that because we went from the podcast to the radio show, and the radio show was a mixture of like music reviews. There was some comedy sections in there. There was all kinds of things. But when we went over to doing Baka Breakdown, we were like, let's just take it back to what we did in the podcast and just chat. And so we started doing that. But we were now specifically talking about individual Japanese artists. So like the first couple of episodes of Baka Breakdown, we got so many dislikes for just like shitting on. Like one of the very first ones we did was like us talking about 1OK Rock, and specifically it was like 1OK Rock's cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, and we didn't dislike it. We kind of liked it. We enjoyed it, and we were saying this is pretty good. But there's just this one bit at the end where it's like he's really pushing for the note. It's like, you know, that bit at the end of Smells Like Teen Spirit, like, na, 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 and he's like, la, 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 la. And like James does this impersonation of him, and it was so funny that I just start laughing. And then we got so many comments like, "Don't respect Taka's brilliance. You don't understand. He's a genius." Just like, you people don't know anything. It's like, okay, it's like so much hate on that fucking video. People really didn't like that. And then we did a few more where it was just like we were just talking freely, and just people got really angry. And so I kind of realized it's like, okay, on YouTube, when you're talking about people's favorite bands, got to be a little bit more kids' gloves. You know, you might want to say something, but sometimes you kind of, you can't lie. I don't want to lie. I don't like saying I say I don't like it, but you got to kind of broach it. Like, instead of just recording the videos like you're talking to your friend, you got to record the videos like you're talking to the fans. I think knowing to make that difference took me a little while, but I crossed that line, and I don't think James could. So James did a couple of reviews on his own where he really pissed off a lot of people. And so that was kind of the point where he stopped doing that and stuck to his other passion of Japanese food. But yeah, he reviewed that Mongolian band, the Who Band. That was the most disliked video I've ever uploaded to the internet. I didn't even watch it. He was just like, "Yeah, I've given you the review." I was like, "That's cool. I'll watch it later. I'll put it online." It's just like my channel started getting fucking hammered. I'm like, "James, what have you done?" I went back and watched it, and he was just like, "Oh," he was like really leaning into them. I was like, "I'm not going to say what he said just in case this video gets disliked." But yeah, he made some people very unhappy. So hey, if you want to hate me, go watch old episodes of Baka Breakdown.
Is that Who one still up on the old channel?
I don't know, actually. Let's have a little look. So yeah, just for anyone who doesn't know, we had to change from Baka Breakdown to a new channel, the one I've currently got, Baka Broadcast. That was mostly because of the fact that we got like shut down over a copyright thing. That's a whole different story. I'm not going to waste your time with now, but that was like more complicated than a normal strike. And so yeah, it was like. So this old channel, Baka Breakdown, got deleted, but then it recently, like a year or two ago, I think about a year ago, it just suddenly re-emerged and it had been undeleted. So clearly they worked out that actually, you know what, that whole copyright thing was bullshit, and we got our channel back. But yeah, it was kind of intriguing that. Let's have a little look to see. I don't know. Some of the videos did mysteriously disappear during those couple of years where the channel was deleted. So, you know, I think some of them were taken down on copyright grounds, but trying to look to see if James's ones, I can't see them. I think they might have actually been removed.
Oh, that's a shame.
But I'm pretty sure we got, oh wait, no, I think that is it. I think that's it. Oh, no, that's Bubbles talking about the Who Band. Oh yeah, Bubbles did a couple of videos that offended people as well. It's just me trying my best and these two guys. Yeah, there we go. So the Smells 19 Spirit one's still uploaded, though. That's the very second video we uploaded. The very second one we did. So many dislikes. So much hate. That was back in the days when you could see your dislikes. So everyone was looking at it like, holy shit, what did they do? Ah, the good old days. The good old days. Yeah, I love this channel. I don't know what I do without it these days. It's, you know, it's weird. Yeah, it can be very stressful running a YouTube channel. It really can. But I love doing it. I really love doing it. Makes me genuinely happy, and it makes me genuinely happy to see like a community of people who they seem to like it. I always wonder when I upload videos. There's that there was this so there's a comedian who some people know, Canadian comedian called he's like a YouTuber comedian. But he does these little tiny short skit videos, and they're quite funny. Yeah, they're very sort of like silly but funny ones. Mm-hmm. And he did one. His name's Ryan George, and he did this one. Yeah, he did this one video, which was basically I think he called it like how every YouTuber feels, and it's literally just a picture of someone going, thumbnail ready and upload, and he sits back and he goes, "That's the worst video anyone's ever made." And that's it. That's the end of the video. And it's like it's really true. Like if you make videos, that's how you feel when you upload every single one. You just upload it and it's like, oh god. So when I upload these videos, and then like I've been doing this long enough to know not to take comments personally when you get negative comments, and a lot of the time actually I enjoy the negative comments because they're either stupid and you can tell they're stupid, or they're genuinely actually trying to be constructive, and then you can like learn something from them. But when you get like a positive comment back, it really does make your day, because you've probably put in, if someone just types a comment because they just look at the content, but you're thinking, I put like 3 or 4 hours into that, and you probably know it's a band where you're not going to get a lot of views or something, but you did it because it's one that you really want to do for the community, and you just kind of like, oh god, I actually hope people like this, and you just kind of, you try not to look at your phone too much, but occasionally you'll peep over like, oh, has there been any comments? I don't think that ever changes. So, but I love doing it because it seems that most people enjoy it. So
yeah, I enjoy your content. There's very few reactors and reviewers that I actually subscribe to, and I think aside from Neon and yourself, you're the only two that I genuinely look forward to the new content that comes out.
I appreciate that. I mean, I'm intrigued because I think one of the things I like about working with Neon is that he's like the polar opposite of me on so many things. So I'm kind of intrigued. Do you think there's anything that me and Neon have in common? What?
Wow.
What is the magic in our marriage that I am not yet to have observed?
I mean, you can both waffle. You've got that in common.
I think I've got him licked on words per minute.
Yeah, I think you've got everybody licked on words per minute.
I worked out a while ago how not to breathe, and that's everything that when I was doing the review for Shambles by Bandmade last night, and I was trying to use a slightly different recording technique, and you might have noticed. I don't know if it was I think it might have been in the take I left in, but it was one take where literally I was talking without taking breath. I watched it back later, and you could just hear my voice slowly fading away. And I think I was talking for like a good 40 seconds straight without taking a single breath. It was just like because I knew what I wanted to say. It's like, and sometimes you get really into it and you're excited and you know what you want to say. And you just want to say it, and you just want to get the words out. And I imagine I have like, so for example, I was interviewed on another podcast. I remember one of the comments there was just some nice comments on that one, and one of the other comments that appeared behind it is like it wasn't a mean comment, but I just like I resonated with what it said. It was like someone just commented under that podcast. It was like, oh yeah, this Baka Broadcast guy. I was like, I don't know what it is. I just find him irritating. And I was like, yeah, I think I know what that is. Because I think I get that. Like, don't worry, you're not wrong, mate. Sorry, I didn't say anything, but I just read the comment. I was like, yeah, it's got a point.
Oh dear. Right, so we're at an hour and a half. So I think I'm gonna move on to some of the questions that I had. Now these are just some fun little questions. Let's see.
I am gonna have a pee break before this one. Then you ready for second pee break?
Okay, on you go.
So that's the that's the thing that a lot of the time people don't realize about Japanese toilets. You might notice you've been here. Is that like, so usually with like most toilets, right? You finish peeing and then you walk over to the sink, right? Japanese toilet, the sink is in the top of the system, so you can like literally, it's just the little box at the back. So you finish peeing. And then literally you just like stand up, you turn straight around, and like as the water flows in, it flows through a tap into a sink in the top and then goes down into the toilet thing. So basically you wash your hands with the water that's going in to replace the flush water. So as the flush water goes down, it empties, and then the new water coming in goes in via a tap that goes up, pours down. So you wash your hands right there. It expedites the process of going for a piss very much. I was really upset though. I don't have one of those toilets that like cleans you with a little hose though, which I'm very disappointed about. That's like, it's ruined the entire experience. I'm gonna have to move back.
Oh Christ!
All right, it's question time.
Right. Okay. So you're well known in the community for breaking up bands.
So here we are.
Looking at a few of the bands that I know you like, you can only not break up one. You've got Bandmade, Scandal, Silent Siren, or Baby Metal.
I see. Okay. Right. So I think I can whittle this down pretty quickly. All right. Although, damn you, this is evil. So Silent Siren are pretty easy to get rid of because of the fact that, unfortunately, as much as I love them, they've kind of done it to themselves already. You know, they've kind of like, well, you know, the drummer obviously left, and then, you know, they've put themselves on hiatus. So unfortunately, if they do decide to split up, not a huge amount's going to change from where we currently stand. I think we kind of, I'm going to be honest, I hate to say this, but I'm going to look back at this with a very, very concerned feeling if they do come back together. But I'm going to say right now that I have absolutely no honest belief that they'll come back together. I think if Silent Siren come back, it will be in the future. Again, you are going to get a long answer. It will be in the future because they maybe like reconnect for the sake of like maybe touring for a little bit of like reunion money. because clearly they're all following other interests. They're all clearly very good friends still, which I love. But I just think Silent Siren as a concept is not something that they consider to be their future rather than as a novelty. So I think we can move them aside. Now, I'm going to get the controversial one out of the way. When it comes to baby metal, the reason why I don't think I would have too much concern about splitting baby metal is because, and you might sympathize with this a bit,
Go on.
is because in a way, I have like massive respect for the members of baby metal. And I think they're all capable of doing great things. I think that we have seen certain issues. Okay, whether they're issues or not is very subjective. But I think one of the things we've noticed is that at this current point, we had those 3 albums where they really just explored every single facet of like metal, which I love. Then we had, they came back and we had the other one, which was a great album. But for me, it was more like them cementing cementing what they're good at rather than, sort of taking us to anywhere we hadn't been before. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where we were. But I kind of get the feeling with the member change and everything, in a way, what I wanted to see when they came back from hiatus, I wanted to see like a reinvention. I didn't know whether we were going to see like Moa was going to like follow up on her guitar skills and now we were going to get a musician form of baby metal or what it was going to be. I kind of feel like, I would have loved that rather than sort of like, putting her in the back as she was on Metal Galaxy and stuff. So I'd have loved to see that if they became like a duet where it was like a musical thing like that. Anything, I wanted to see a real reinvention. In a way, I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with this, but I think the lore thing, I'm not a big fan of I don't really care, but I think it can become something they get a little bit too stuck to, the lore side of things. And I think that combined with the outfits, I think it could start to make them look dated with a while. It could be something where, I mean, look at all the groups from the hair metal groups from like the 80s and stuff. And we think, oh, they look so dated now. And my worry is that if baby metal don't sort of evolve, then they could start to look like that. So in a way, as much as I would like to see where baby metal goes in the future, I would be okay with taking the 3 members who are clearly very good at doing things on their own if they want to, and come from Sakura Gakuin, so they understand the idea of forging a solo career. I would be fine with taking the 3 members of them, splitting them off and say, go do other things, show us what else you can do. So in a way, I get the feeling that we've heard baby metal achieve so much already that they are now at a space where they can go do other things. Okay. I'm okay with that. Now that brings me down to the bit which I've been desperately killing time so that I can try and work out a way around. Scandal or bandmate? Scandal or bandmate? Scandal or bandmate? Here's the problem. Is that these 2 bands, I mean, Scandal have proven themselves to be unbreakable because they just seem to, I mean, what is it? They're coming up for the record this next year for the longest continuous single lineup female band in the world. Yeah, I believe they'll be the female band to have kept the same lineup for longer than any other band in history.
Wow. Okay.
As of next year. And I believe they're actually going for a Guinness World Record from what I've heard from the community, Scandal community, Harry especially. So, they are a band who they're tied together. But the funny thing is that I feel like Bandmade, although obviously they're several years behind on this particular trip, I feel like they could well pull off the exact same thing because there is something very homogenous about the group. They're individuals, but they work so perfectly together. So the question really comes down to which group would source the most intriguing solo careers. Now, of course, I've got a difficulty because I'm wearing a Bandmate hat right now. But if I'm honest with you, I think the thing which would tip my hat, I wouldn't want either of them to break up. But the thing is that we know for a fact that Scandal is made up of at least 3, I believe, 4 songwriters, which means that you could create 4 solo careers. I don't think you could do that with Bandmate. I think if you broke up Bandmate, apart from the fact that you are breaking up 5 people as opposed to 4, which is, of course, a bit harsher anyway, the problem is that both bands work as bands. But Bandmate, I think the members could do other things, but I don't think it's so obvious what they would do. Mm-hmm. Like Miku, yes, she could do Clupo, she could have solo careers. Psyche could have great careers, but I don't know if we really seen that laid out for her. I would be excited to see her do all kinds of projects, but I don't really know. Kalami could. and she has. But again, it would be hard to know exactly how that would work. Whereas if Scandal were to break up, 100% I could see where they would go. I could see what they would do. So in a way, I want neither of them to break up, but I think Scandal would be the one that I think would give me things to be excited about. Like if they broke up, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, look, I'm really looking forward to seeing like Mami's solo album, Haruna solo album, like Tomomi. She would definitely lay down a solo album. Who knows? We might even get like a Bondo sequel. You know that Rena would be on projects as well, and you know she's got a singing voice as well. She could have a solo album. So I would be like upset, but I would still be excited. Whereas if Bandmate broke up, I would be slightly more like, oh shit, what's actually going to happen now? I think I would be more concerned about that.
I agree. I couldn't see where Akane and Misa and that go off on their own and do their own thing. They would only ever be in the back of some other band. Miku is really the only one that I could see making something of it if they did break up.
Well, I can see Psyche getting another band formed around her. I don't think a solo career would necessarily. This is the interesting thing about Bandmate. I think any one of them has the ability to do something on their own, but I just don't know whether necessarily that's what they're built for. So the interesting thing is that, like, you know, you look at Konami, she's a fantastic musicianship and songwriter. I mean, you could say that she is the most rounded person in the band, but she doesn't come across to me like the sort of person who is built for a solo career. She comes across to me as the sort of person who's most happy when she has a band to kind of serve, to you know, sort of do her bidding. You know, she sits there, she has fun, she constructs things, and then she's not that guitar soloist who stands up front like twiddling away just because she wants the attention. She's the sort of person who creates for a band. You know, Akane, she is an amazing drummer, but what is her greatest skill? Her greatest skill is the ability to hear what is happening with the rest of the band and pull a rhythm out of it. She can construct a rhythm out of almost any song, which I love. It's that ability to read what's in front of her. I mean, she could go around and she could just sort of drum for other people, but again, that would that ever really be quite as rewarding for us, the listener? Misa, fantastic bassist, but I hate to say it, bassist is a general. Unless you have a strong singing voice, the chance of you doing anything other than just being plopped into another band, and in all fairness, it would be unlikely she'd be in a band that would use her as well as Bandmate. I can only see her taking a step down, regardless of her talent. So the only two who I think would get away with it is possibly Psyche, definitely Miku, but both of them would still be taking a step down. So I just feel like all five of them benefit so much from each other's presence. The more I think about it, I think they would survive, but I think it would be a massive, we would lose something huge. Whereas with Scandal, we'd lose something huge and gain a few things, I think, as well at the same time in a much more evident way. So ironically, in a sort of backhanded compliment, I'm going to say that we would let Scandal on their way and we'd keep Bandmate. Yeah.
Controversial.
Well, fuck, you lined me up there, didn't you? We're going to be like, what's your favourite colour, Howard? You know, you couldn't just do that, could you?
Well, okay, well, we'll go somewhere around that. Right, okay. Now, I did say this to you before when we were setting up last week.
Oh, yeah.
Cover versions. If you could pick two bands to cover each other's songs, which band and which songs?
So the bands have to play the songs fully, right? I can't trick out, because the thing is that what I'd like to do, you know, there's from when I was talking about collaborations before. I would have to take two artists who were totally wildly different, or it wouldn't be interesting. So taking two rock groups and making them cover each other is just boring in my opinion. Sorry, but just boring. Yeah, I want to get like sort of like a really hardcore group and then get like a cute like J-pop quartet or something. That's the kind of thing I'd want to do, because the results would just be so berserk and so interesting. I think this is a difficult one because it could really go a number of different ways. It's tempting to throw in things like Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra, but effectively their career already is basically taking other people's sounds and making them their own. So they're going to do that regardless of what I ask them to do. All right, let's think through my list of bands who I really like. So I'm already starting to get an interesting one in here. I always think with these questions, I want to answer stuff where people will go, rather than pulling obscure artists who no one's heard about. But in a way, I kind of feel like Oatscry has to be involved in this, because Oatscry, one of the things that I love about what she does, apart from the fact that she's a singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist and so fucking talented, is the fact that she did a cover album of her own songs, which was one of the most wildly like clever like things that she keeps on covering her own songs and like changing them, and every time it works. It's like, oh, I got bored of doing this song this way, so I'm going to do it differently. And it's like she changes the style of her own hits, and like it really works. And she did one which was just like a sort of smooth jazz version of like some of her rock songs. I'm like, this is really good. So she's very, very good at this. So in a way, I get the feeling I could trust her to really interpret songs very interestingly. So, see, here's the thing. I get the feeling, I feel this is really boring, but I think I kind of can start to feel what my answer is going to be. See, I want to bring in Gatrick Spin, but the problem is Gatrick Spin, again, any band who's already got a very diverse sound or multiple members, it's going to make it. Oh, but Wagaki Band. Oh, Wagaki Band could be in there. No, because Wagaki Band, very diverse, but they're always going to do it. It's going to be too predictable because you know what style they're going to do. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm sorry, this is going to be a bit boring. I'm going to go friends.
Boring?
Thank you. Thank you. You make me feel much better. I am going to throw in Bandmade and Oatscry. Here's the reason. Because with Bandmade, so with Oatscry covering Bandmade, it's just the fact that we all know Bandmade's songs. They're very intricate. There's a lot of detail. And I feel for someone like Oatscry, it would be a playground. You have no idea what she's going to do with them. She could like really do something completely crazy with them. You just don't know what it's going to be. She could come out with a smooth jazz version of them again. She could come out doing like a sort of a brass band version. It really is too unpredictable what she's going to do. And she probably even just do like a solo piano version. Like she's a fantastic pianist. Don't know what it could be, but I'm sure it'd be interesting. So for me, it would be taking the intricate, well-known songs of Bandmade and throwing them through the filter of a really reliable song arranger who knows how to take songs, mess with them, and has an understanding of multiple instruments. So she could take Bandmade and really put an interesting twist on them. Then in reverse, obviously Bandmade would, in this little marriage, be the more solid, predictable of the two artists. But of course, Bandmade, it's not like they don't have their ability to throw some curveballs in there. We've heard about us. We've heard Start Over. I've always said one of the things I like about Bandmade is that they are more than just a hard rock band. There is something bubbling beneath the surface, and it pops through that you can see that they can do more. They just choose to be what they are. And because Oatscry has got, as a general, her songs tend to be pretty non-aggressive. Yeah, she's got a couple of aggressive songs, but they tend to be more amicable, either very happy songs or slightly more sad songs, but they're more like gentle emotions, less anger. It would be really cool to see a bit of that going through the Bandmade filter, because then you'd get that sort of joy that there was in Made in Japan. Sorry, I like that album, guys. You get the joy of Made in Japan, but rather than having sort of these songs fed to them, which are kind of like songs for a band starting off, it'd be like, okay, now you've got the works of an extremely well celebrated hit single making machine who writes very intricate songs. Go have fun. Take one of those. Take one of those ballads, or take one of those really happy, insane songs. Go do that, Bandmade, and we get to see Bandmade just sort of like going crazy and smiles on their faces, bouncing around, doing something really jolly. So I think that would be a really interesting combination. I mean, if I had to go for an exact song, I would love to hear oh my God, I know this is so obvious. I'd love to hear a Bandmade version of Sacrambo. I know like so many Bandmade fans, if they know that song, are going to kill me right now, but a Bandmade version of Sacrambo. I just want to hear Miku screaming, "My God!" I just want to hear that. I would fucking die to hear that, but that, Happy Days, anything like that, one of the really insanely over-the-top happy songs. And then Oatscry, I'd give her any of them. Give her any Bandmade song, because it would just be so unpredictable what she would produce. They'd just be like, just you go pick one. Go pick one. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. Just go pick one. And then just see what she produces and just listen to it like, yep, didn't see that coming. You fucking crazy woman. What's wrong with you? Yeah, the more I think about it, I'm unfolding this in my head because I didn't see this question coming. The more I think about it, I would love to hear Oatscry does a Bandmate song and Bandmate does an Oatscry song. And a lot of Bandmate fans would just like probably not like the output, but I think there would be a good number of the older Bandmate fans, the ones who were around, when Bandmate first started taking over their songwriting stripes. I think those are the ones who would appreciate it most of all because they would know that bandmate who sort of crossed that barrier, the bandmate who played songs written for them before. So I think that would be more of a gift for the old school Bandmate fans. They would probably like that more, I think. That's my thing.
Okay. You see, yours is much more interesting than mine, because mine's is so predictable. I would have said...
Baby Metal?
Baby Metal.
Yes!
Covering Reza Sulin. And I would like them to cover Hell or Hell.
Okay.
And I would like Reza Sulin to cover something that would really show off Rachel's voice. So something like Akatsuki. So that gives the band members time to do their little solo in the middle and all that sort of stuff. And Rachel can get a chance to really belt out the song.
See, that's interesting because when I think about that... I mean, one of the reasons why Baby Metal didn't really come into my assumption there is because when I originally asked you the question about would the band play the song, I think I kind of automatically sort of ruled out Baby Metal because Baby Metal obviously have a backing band, but then again, Cami Band are very much part of the whole thing. So in a way, Cami Band would be playing the song. Any group like that where you have like in-house writers and everything, that's very interesting because again, you have that quality assurance that probably someone is going to really deal with the cover very well. It's going to be passed through people. It's not going to just be like some random dude from some grunge band who's going to be like, oh, we're going to do a cover of this now and completely misunderstand it. You're going to have like a good quality writer involved. So yeah, I think that would work out in their favor. I think I agree with you. I would love to hear like Akatsuki done by Reza Sulin, but also I would really like to hear them do Gimme Chocolate just because fuck yeah. just because that would be so wrong that it would become right. It would go full circle. It would go all through all of the wrongness and come back to rightness at the end. So in a way, I think I feel like I think it would be more unpredictable to know what Baby Metal would do in response. Like Hell or Hell's an interesting one. I think a lot of it would come down to how it was translated into being a Cami Band song, because effectively you'd lose the keyboard aspects. So it'd have to be made up for by guitar work. So I think that I think Reza Sulin have access to more of a diverse sound, but Bandmate have kind of more of a limitless supply of tools. If you get what I mean, like sort of like the thing of having a keyboard player, thing of having like all very different vocalists is very much baked into Reza Sulin. Whereas Baby Metal, they usually go for more of it's guitar focused kind of thing, but they have the ability to go, all right, we're going to pull out some samples for this. They can, if they wanted to, if the right writer was in place, they could just pull something crazy out of the bag and say, okay, this is how we're going to approach this song. So yeah, that would be really interesting, but very hard to predict. Then again, do you know what? I mean, you could. I've said this before. I know they have connections through various sources, but what about just having like Baby Metal and Chiari switch over? Like Chiari does a Baby Metal song and Baby Metal do a Chiari song. I'd love to hear like Baby Metal doing like Pom 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 or anything like Ninja Bang Bang, just like doing that through Baby Metal, like with like guitars and everything, and then like hearing, take one of the heavier songs from Baby Metal and give it to Chiari and just have her do it like in bright colors. I'd be down for that as well, actually. That'd be a very simple handoff to do, and I think that would work. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen, like a Chiari Baby Metal song swap.
Okay, and I'll probably go for just a couple last quick ones.
Go for it. As many questions as you want. I got plenty of coffee. Oh fuck.
What is your all-time favourite song?
I feel that I'm gonna need more context to answer that. I struggle to even think of a favorite band or even a favorite genre, let alone a favorite song. I mean, your mood changes so quickly.
Okay, I'll change it then. Do you have apart from Sorry Doggy, do you have a guilty pleasure song?
Manini is an amazing song. Yeah, Sorry Doggy. Guilty. I think I probably have. I think most of the songs I would describe as guilty pleasures are probably, because when it comes to Japanese songs, it's impossible to be guilty. I guess because most people already know that my taste is like pretty limitless. I think like when it comes to Western songs, I probably have some guilty pleasures. Like, you know, I mean, as a general, I'm not a big fan of Western pop. I think that's a fairly well documented thing. And I also think as well, I grew up during that sort of phase when there was lots of boy bands and girl bands. But I'm a great believer that, you know, things like, I was in a band where we did a cover of C'est La Vie by Bewitched. And I tell you what, you've not had fun until you've danced around stage with guitars playing C'est La Vie by Bewitched. That song is insanely fun. So that one I remember, that was a good. Is that a favorite song? I don't know, but I think it's definitely a guilty pleasure that I sat down and I penned a cover version of it. Talking of covers, so I guess you could throw that in. But I got a lot of songs that would be considered like sort of guilty pleasures. I wish I'd thought of a list now, because there were songs I was listening to the other day where I was like, wow, if anyone heard I was listening to this, I think I was insane. Yeah, I think yeah. I think if you imagine something that's probably considered, I think that's probably the big thing. I think there's a lot of music where people go, that's trashy. And I go, yeah, but it's still good. There's a lot of music where it's trashy and it is trashy, but there's a lot of music where people dismiss it and say that's trashy. And I'm like, yeah, but listen to it. It's actually a good song. You know, I mean, like you take Say La Vie by Bewitched. Yes, it's not very cleverly written. And the lyrics are fucking weird. I mean, really fucking weird. But you know, it's like, it works. It's good. It works. Trying to think of other ones, because now I'm just putting my entire weight on that song. So I'm going to put my entire weight on that song. My reputation's going down on that. I can't remember now. It's too. Anyway, yeah. I'll think of a list. I'll think of a list later. But yeah, trashy pop songs. There's a lot of trashy pop songs that I really like, because I'm just like, they're good, they're catchy, and they're fun, and they're bright, and they make me feel happy in all of my little tiny dead brain cells.
Cool. I can get behind C'est La Vie. I like Bewitched. I used to love Bewitched when I was younger.
Some people say I look like my dad.
Fights like your dad as well.
Yes. Love it. I remember when we were singing that live, because the band I was with at the time, for a short period we had a female singer, but then she had to move to another town, so we lost her. It was the line in the second verse is like, I'll be the queen and you'll be the king.
Mm-hmm.
And we deliberately decided that I would sing that line, because at first we were like, it would switch over to her. It was like, I'll sing that line, and then just when I sing that line directly afterwards, just on the beat, she goes, "What the fuck?" It was like deliberately, she's got to say that to me. It's like, I'll take that line, and then she says that to me. We did that, and there's a recording of us singing that somewhere, and it's just great because like her and the drummer at the same time, with the drummer, like we got so used to doing it that the drummer joins in as well. So the drummer's like, "What the fuck?" That was back in the day when things were simpler, but yeah, that was like really that was a fun cover to do, and I always remember we used to have so many giggles because we'd always play that like we'd play that like there was one song we did in the middle of our set which is kind of like this nice, really sort of quite deep and meaningful song, and we give people like a chance to just sort of like after that just play it out gently, and we'd be like, okay, and now for something a bit different, and then we play Say La Vie. And people used to fucking love it because it was like such a turnaround that it just like people couldn't help but laugh when it was like it's going and like some people say I look like my dad, and then people really get behind that. So yeah.
Please say you have those. Please say you have those recordings.
I do have a recording actually on. There's a hard drive I've got like right under here, which I know has a copy of that on. So I'll send that to you afterwards. And
Thank you.
With that. But it was like, actually, we didn't realize at the time, because at the time, we were just a band, but we didn't realize at the time that we actually were and we joked about this later, we were probably the most diverse band in history, because like, so you had me, you had like generic white guy playing guitar, and then like the lass who was singing and playing guitar with me, so technically speaking, we were both guitarists. It wasn't really a lead or rhythm, we just picked up the parts. But obviously female, and it turned out she was a lesbian as well. Turned out, so we had a lesbian female, and she was ginger. We had a lesbian female ginger. Then we had me. Then our bass guitarist. He was like a protege, but he was still in high school. So we had a kid, and he was a drug addict. So we had we had a teenage drug addict. He's like always turned up to fucking like practice sessions like several hours late and stuff, like high off his face on ketamine. Pretty good though. He was good at playing bass, not the ketamine. And then our drummer was I don't even know what's the correct wording you're allowed to say now. He was a black fella, but he was just like, oh my god, he's like one of the funniest human beings ever to live. Just this tall, skinny black fella, and he would just be like drinking throughout the show. So like you've got the bassist is fucked up his face with ketamine. Drummer is drunk and just screaming his way through the songs every time. He's like, oh yeah, I like this song. It's like, yes, our song. And he just starts singing along to it in the background. So it's me singing and him shouting. We did this one gig which was underneath. It was in the basement under a pizza place in London, and we were the second to last band on. And there was like a noise limit on how loud we were allowed to play. And at the end, it was like we'd been turned down. And the drummer was just like, I don't need fucking speakers. And he just started screaming and like screaming the songs, playing as loud as he could. I was like, fuck it, let's do this. And then I just started screaming all the songs as well. We just started playing all our songs as like really aggressive metal. That band was good times. We were a diverse band in both IQ and all other levels. I really wish you could come to Japan, get me deported probably, but still. Good times. I'll try and get you that recording, because that's the band that did C'est La Vie, and that's the band with the what the fuck line in there.
You should upload it. Upload it to YouTube.
Oh, sorry, 1 second. I pulled the cord out from my headphones. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah. I'm saying upload it to YouTube. I can link it.
There is there's if you go back on, I'm not going to say where it is. I'll send you a link. If you go back on Baka Broadcast to one of the live chats we did, I think it was in 2020. We did a live chat where I sat down in the live chat, and I just sat down with a chat and just watched some of my old videos I'd done with previous bands. And it was like my old music videos. We just sat down and watched them, and all chatted about them together. And there's like some of the hilarious shit that I'd done in some of these. And I think it went back all the way to one that I filmed in America in 2003. I think was the oldest one we looked at. But I just went through my hard drive, and we were just like watching old music videos of me. It was never a music video for the C'est La Vie one, but there was other videos of that band, and one of them was us performing a video in an old scout hut that was due for demolition, and it had been bought by this guy. Like, it used to be a scout hut, and this guy bought it, but he never did anything with it, and he owned a clothing shop, like a fancy dress shop, so we ended up storing some of his stock in there, and then it was due for demolition because he didn't need it. So like we just went to like use it as a studio because we knew it was demolished in a couple of weeks, and we got permission just to use it. And we were in there, and we were just like playing and recording this old abandoned scout hut. And then just one day, like the drummer found like all these old boxes of fancy dress stuff, and he's like, "I'm gonna wear it." I was like, "All right." And then we made a music video. I was like, "Bro, what are you doing wearing a corset?" He's like, "I can't believe this fits on me." I'm like, "Shit." Yeah. So that was a good fun band. I'll find the copy of us singing C'est La Vie as well, just to terrify everyone.
Thank you.
Like a after item. You play that over the closing credits.
And speaking of songs like that, do you have any, what you would call, what's the right word? A hidden gem, something that you know about that nobody else knows about, that you would recommend so we can all go and check it out?
It's interesting because obviously I've been doing this series on Baka Broadcast of recent. There's going to be an episode of this in the next day or two, which is like me talking about bands that so unknown bands, and a lot of the audience wanted me to do that, so I started doing that. I'm going to try. So I'm going to try and break this into segments, if you will. If you're into hard rock stuff like that, obviously my girls from Trident, they're getting quite famous now, but give Trident a lot of love. They're fantastic. I really think they are brilliant. But there's also a group coming up called Palaneo. They've only got like one single out so far, but they seem to have a lot of potential. So give them a little look as well. If you like your sort of mid-range rock and roll, you kind of like the sort of MOR style, which is really popular in the charts in Japan at the moment. There's a group called Caramel Candid, who I absolutely love. They're fantastic. I've seen them live. They only got one single out, but they got another song coming out soon. I saw their live show. All of their songs were brilliant. I was really impressed. And they are so young. I couldn't believe it when I met them. I was like, holy shit, are you allowed to be out this late? And I was like, oh my God, damn. But they're like, they got some really good songs. And there was a lot of attitude on stage. I was like, you guys have got personality. So I think they've got a lot of future. Caramel Candid, I really got them pegged, but there's other groups going around as well that people like. There's another group we covered who are actually getting very big very quick at the moment called Gambit. They're kind of got a more poppy vibe to like that MOR music. They're doing a lot more, got keyboards and stuff in their sound, but again, met them at a live show. They're really great. Ultimately though, I'd say really the greatest band that you can go and check out at the moment, like the only band that you really need to check out is DaDaDams. So go check out some DaDaDams because
I was wondering how long it would take you to get them in.
I had to give some name checks to some of our other beloved favorites as well. But also, a lot of people going wild for Tone Spoon. Do you want to sneak exclusive? I'll give you an exclusive for your podcast.
Go on.
Exclusive for your podcast. I've been talking to Tone Spoon, everyone's current favorite band, and I might be going to Nagoya, maybe be online, but we've had a really good chat, and we're going to be having a little bit of a meeting and interview. So me and Tone Spoon are in contact. Thank you to Jan from my community who's been helping set that up because I've been very busy of recent. They really was. They watched that. They were actually watching DaDaDaday as well. So Tone Spoon were actually in there watching DaDaDaday, which was really cool. I was like, this is so weird. It's like everyone's been like hyping up this new band, and they're this really interesting band, and they're in watching DaDaDaday with us. So they were in there watching that, and they really enjoyed it, and they were like, wow, if that's what that was like, we'd really love you to like do something like that with us. So I was like, okay, it might not be the same, but definitely be doing like, we can sort out an interview and like work out so we can do something fun like that as well. Something more tailored to what you are as a band. But they really enjoyed that. So Tone Spoon.
Wow. Okay.
There you go. There's your little thing. We haven't got it set in stone yet, but they are definitely 100% all up for it. And I might as well mention this now because they might have noticed that the members have started following me on Twitter as well. So it might become a little bit evident. But it's like, hey, wait a second, why is Tone Spoon so interested in Howard all of a sudden? It's like, So there you go, a little exclusive. No one knows about that except for me and Jan there. So there you go, it's an exclusive for episode 1 of the LOONCAST.
Well, I look forward to seeing that.
Me too.
Right, so we're at over 2 hours, so I think I'm going to wrap this up. Do you have anything you want to promote other than Tone Spoon, DaDaDams?
I would say that, so basically, if please do, obviously, Baka Broadcast, if you haven't already, go subscribe, check it out. I really appreciate that anyway. But the big thing at the moment, really, if you want to get to know what I'm doing, if you want to get to know all of it together, best thing to do, go to my channel, and before you even subscribe, go check out the video dropped last Sunday, the DaDaDaDay video, the one that was dropped on 30th of July. There's a part 2 coming out this Sunday as well, but go watch that part 1. It'll give you a little idea for what I do. It'll give you a little idea for DaDaDams. And if you like me, if you like them, whatever it is, I hope you get something from that video. And if you like both of us, then follow both of us. But if you like either of them, then there you go. Hopefully that'll be something nice. And a little bit of free music in there for you as well, because there's 2 music videos in that video that you can watch along the way, along with all the interviews and everything. It's only 30 minutes long. Skip through it. There's like little chapters at the bottom. And if you like anything in there, then you'll know where I am, and there'll be links for the band as well. So that's it. Go follow that. I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully I'll be seeing you guys on my channel as well.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Cheers, Luke.
Right, well, thank you very much for coming on and giving me your time.
This is the important bit, though, Luke. This is your first sign-off. This is the bit where you've got to do your sign-off, your big ending. So I'm just gonna chill out in the corner here. I'm gonna enjoy this.
I was kind of hoping you were going to help me out with some ears to the east kind of thing, or.
Oh, okay. Should I do it for you?
Yeah, go on.
Everyone's like, "Fuck, you didn't shut up at any point during the podcast." So everybody, remember to like and like this video, subscribe to the LOONCAST right now, because if you don't subscribe now, you forget to, and you'll miss future episodes with people who actually might be more interesting to listen to than myself. Remember to brush your teeth, clean behind your ears. Generally look left and right before you cross roads. These are all good practices. And from the Loonland, ciao, goodbye. I have no idea.